Hey there, internets. Welcome back to the My Business Launch Secrets YouTube channel. My name is Kyle, documenting my journey from $0 to $1 million and starting a new online business. Today we'll talk about some templates, I guess you could say, I made for the podcast. These video things, trying to get more comfortable using some of the tools that I plan to use for not only recording the podcast, but doing hopefully somewhat relatively minor editing on the podcast, because I don't want it to be a super highly produced thing, just because I don't have that kind of time. Once again, I'm doing this part-time, still have a day job, wife and kids to take care of, so things are a bit stressful around the house. Not to mention the fact that my back still sucks ass, and still kind of feels like shit overall. So, oh man, it's like pulled a muscle or something in my back, and it's fine kind of sitting or laying down in one position, but when you have to get up from that position, that's very challenging. And I look like, I don't know, a giant worm trying to wiggle my way out of the position I'm in. On the new gear front, got a new microphone. This is the Samsung Q2U, I think it is. I don't have the box here, but yep, it's over here real quick. Just trying it out today. Samsung Q2U. This is one that I read a lot about when it came to getting started with your own podcast. It is a USB, well, it has both USB plug and standard XLR mic inputs if you have a mixer and all that fancy stuff. But I don't, so I'm just running this directly into my computer. But they say you should use a dynamic microphone over the one I've been using, which is, I have the Blue Yeti. This is a compressor style microphone, which picks up a lot more of your surrounding environment. It's very sensitive, as opposed to the dynamic microphones where it only picks up things that are in relatively close range. So hopefully you can still hear me with what I'm doing. I did get a boom arm, but I haven't set all that up yet, so I'm kind of jerry-rigging, trying to get this thing up to my height. But in any case, as I've been laying around / sleeping most of the day here as we're rolling into Thanksgiving like nobody's business, great time to be. I'm feeling like shit. Fortunately, we don't do much traveling around this time of year because I don't like to travel during the holidays, and I would rather just spend it with my own family. And if other people want to come here, that's cool. If they don't, that's fine too. I really don't care. So we mostly keep things low-key around the holidays, and that's quite fine by us. I honestly didn't want to record this, and I did skip a day yesterday because yesterday I was feeling bad and just crashed into the bed and literally just fell in the bed and couldn't move much after that, so did not get up and did not sleep very well either, but tried to get in what I could. But then even when I've been awake today, it's just like, you know that feeling, you just kind of feel like crap, and like, even though I'm awake and I have energy, I just don't want to, like, I don't have any like thinking power really. So anyway, yesterday I really didn't get anything done in terms of the business. Today I did knock out some things that were, I guess, relatively easy, and just things that didn't require a lot of brain power, so I got that done. So let's take a look. As I was thinking more about what I want to do for the podcast, and again, a plan is to record a video. Oh, sorry. Little back spasm there. I want to record a video podcast that, I'll strip the audio out and just post that on whatever podcast platforms but then post the video to YouTube. And as I mentioned previously, kind of following the model of the Marketing Secrets podcast, where Russell Brunson uses the same intro and outro on the video and the audio. But the problem with that is, and I guess podcasts are a little bit different. I mean, different podcasts do it differently, so there's no standard per se, but the intro that Russell has, which I modeled and is what basically mine ended up being, is like 30 seconds long. So I think if you're listening to a podcast, it's fine because there's usually a skip fast forward 30 seconds button. In the podcast app, you can just jump over that if you don't want to listen to the intro. YouTube, obviously, you can fast forward a little bit or jump ahead, but I think the trend on the YouTubes is people preferring much shorter intros, if having any kind of intro at all. It's just more or less kind of get right into it because, again, with the YouTubes, you are judged based on how long people are watching your video. And the algorithm, favors you if you're getting people to stick around longer. And so if you have like a quick blurb, hey, today's podcast is about dealing with back spasms, let's get started, and then boom, you got this 30-second long intro. Sorry, one second. Okay, so quick break there, sorry. Bottom line, I just decided I need to have a shorter intro for YouTube, because if I'm going to put stuff on YouTube, I might as well do it right to at least try to get some traction there. And the whole point of both the podcast and the YouTubes is to generate organic traffic so I don't have to rely on paid traffic. Which, by the way, this is something Russell Brunson mentioned on a podcast I was listening to today. And he was kind of giving some advice to one of his inner circle members who was frustrated about his paid advertisements not really working. And I guess the bottom line was Russell said that, paid advertisements are what everybody tries to get working because that's easy to scale. Once you get an advertisement that works, then you just dump more money in it and you get more people buying your stuff on the other side. But he was like, that is frankly a lot harder than most people make it seem, which I kind of figured, just various things I've heard over the past year. And so rather than focusing on just, paying for a bunch of advertisements that may or may not convert and, dumping hundreds or thousands of dollars into that, he said you're better off doing a more organic approach, which is more than just starting your own podcast or YouTube channel. But he says that is a good first step. I think it was him who mentioned like podcasts are, he did say like if you were starting anything from scratch, the first thing he would do would be to start a podcast. And something about that research has shown that people who listen to podcasts generally have more income and thus are probably more willing to buy whatever you're selling. So that was one thing. Something else I read, I think, said that even though podcasts have been around for a while, obviously, and you hear about some of the bigger ones, Joe Rogan and all the various real crime type podcasts, which people seem to be addicted to these days. So I just assume, there's got to be a ton of podcasts, which there are a ton of podcasts, but apparently in relation to the number of YouTube channels and the number of Facebook groups, like there's a small fraction of podcasts. I don't know, like 2 million podcasts versus 10 million YouTube channels or something. So point being, even though those numbers are still very large, you're still a very small fish in a big pond. Would you rather be swimming in the pond of only 2 million other people or 10 million other people? So it makes sense to do the podcast route. But then anyway, he was going on further to say that once you start that up, then you should go out and find like 10 other podcasters that already have established podcasts that are targeting your same audience, and try to get an interview on them, to then try to get some of their traffic to come over to your stuff, blah, blah, blah. And that's how you generate traffic for free. And that's a kind of a good way to start overall. And mainly because also he was saying as you go through that process and you, if you actually get on interviews with other podcasters, then you start to get a better sense of maybe the topics or the areas that are more interesting to other people. Given, again, this is a big problem when you're starting out, is like, you're trying to put some product together that you think is cool or interesting or whatever, but you have no idea if anybody else really cares about it. So you have to get something out there. So by going on podcasts, you can maybe start to refine what exactly you want to offer, because you can start to understand a little bit more where other people are coming from. So I think that's all good advice. And maybe once I get this podcast off the ground, get, 20 or some episodes under my belt, so I can show some level of credibility, then maybe I'll start reaching out to other folks to try to spread the message further. In any case, that was a little side note about podcasts, but let's go back to, so I figured out in Canva how to do quick videos. I did not do anything too fancy, just picked a template that they had, tweaked the words on here, and we're off to the races, right? So this is like a 7-second introduction. Well, just welcome to the PhD Secrets podcast. Ignore that random picture / video of me here. This was just some random clip I dropped in, but I'll try to come up with something a little bit nicer of whatever, waving to the camera or some BS. But anyway, this will be like the intro clip that I'll just edit into all my podcasts on the front end, and then for the outro, similarly, I think this is also 7 seconds. Just thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. PhD Boss. Bam. So then what I did from there is then figured out how to use, well, number one, did more work in Audacity, which is the audio editing tool. These waveforms are nothing but, if I open YouTube intro, PhD Secrets YouTube intro, yeah, okay. So this was using those, the audio clips that I bought off of, I think, audiojungle.com. Found one that fit the 7-second time block. So I don't know if you could hear any of that, but it's a pretty cool little rockin' theme that I'm using, which I already cut the 30-second intro for the podcast, but now I just created a smaller one that I overlaid on the video. And then speaking of the video, I started to play around a bit with Davinci Resolve, which is a free, so the very coolest thing, like this Audacity is a free open source audio editing tool, which has everything you really need. And then Davinci Resolve is it's not open source, but they give you a free version of it to do audio editing. I mean video editing. And there's a ton of stuff in here that I have no real clue all what's going on. This is actually a tool that's used by professionals, so it's pretty legit. But I was able to just drop the Canva clip in here along with that audio clip that I had as well, line those up, and now I have a video with my desired audio track playing in the background. So that's for my welcome. So that's I was able to use that, render that down to create just a MP4 file, I think it is, yeah, MP4. So this is an MP4 file, which again, I won't play the audio just because it'd be hard to pick it up, but 7-second intro, and again, similarly, the outro, 7-second outro. Kept it similar style, added the logo. This one's the outro is a little more generic for any potential thing I throw up on the YouTubes, because probably I'll put more than just the PhD Secrets podcasts onto the YouTube channel, although that's all I will be doing for now. So point being, I did all that just to kind of get myself some exposure to these tools that I will be using more regularly. Still, tons to learn from all of these, of course, but I think that'll get me pretty well set up for the most part. Now that I got my sweet new microphone, and I've got ordered a couple of cheap camera stands, so I'm gonna set up my phone to record from one angle, and then this HD camera that I use for these videos to record from a different angle, so I can just at least have a little bit of cutbacks between the two, rather than just you sitting here watching me as you've been doing on all these clips that I've been doing for this channel. Also got a color light. Apparently that's the thing people like to do, is you'll not only have good lighting in front that's showing your face, lighting you up, which I did order a couple of those, just some cheap ones, but then also background wise, kind of going with a dark background, but with some sort of a color thrown in there, so it's just not just black and white. So I got one of those color lights. So it's actually sitting back there, that long stick looking thing is a color light that you can change the colors to, and they're pretty cheap. It's like $30 or $40, so I actually might end up ordering another one, but it's fine for now. So slowly making progress, getting started there. I mean, I think that aside from the fact that I physically feel like shit, starting to get a little momentum going with, I guess I have a stronger desire to be putting out content now. This was, something I kind of always dreaded when I started thinking about doing this whole online business thing of, oh geez, I got to be on the social medias and all that crap, which frankly, I don't really do the social medias. I don't know, for not particular reason, for several reasons, but mostly just because, especially since I've now downloaded Facebook and Instagram, those things can just suck you in, it's crazy. And obviously they're very good at very quickly identifying what you like to see, and then just dumping more and more of that into your lap. So it's I can see why people get addicted to their phones and to the social medias, because I find myself just spending 10, 20, 30 minutes literally just scrolling through random clips of people doing just complete nonsense. Not of it, some of it, I watch videos about home improvement or cooking, and some of those are just kind of interesting. People actually doing real things and just sharing in a quick clip. But, there's still a lot of crap that comes across my phone of people just doing, stupid stuff. But that hooks you in, and you get sucked in, and that's a longer discussion about the state of our society, but whatever, it is what it is. And if you want to play the game of getting eyeballs, then that's the game you have to play. As Russell Brunson's also talked about in other podcasts, we're kind of, and I think Gary Vee and others have talked about this, that we're in an era not unlike the kind of 50s and 60s era, where the big new media was TV, and originally there was only 3 stations ABC, NBC, and CBS that you were primarily watching, any person was primarily watching. And so if you were a business wanting to get your message in front of people, in front of eyeballs, you would advertise on one of those three stations. And it was like relatively easy. Relatively speaking, I guess. But then as you got into the cable era, then now everything like blew up into, 1,000 different channels, all these specialty channels, etc. And so it got a lot harder for people because it's like, well, now I gotta, I can't afford to go from advertising on 3 to advertising on 100 different channels. So then you had to like pick and, kind of hope you pick the right ones, I guess. Whereas fast forward to where we're at now, which is a lot of people are just predominantly consuming media that comes through their social media channels. And you got YouTube, Facebook, and Facebook, Instagram, I guess you could kind of lump those together a little bit. And then Twitter, I guess primarily. And so it's like, again, we're back to like 3 big players. And so if you're a new business wanting to get eyeballs, like you need to be playing in those 3 areas. And the good thing is, yes, you can do paid advertisements to get on in front of those eyeballs, but you can also, it's not like the TV days where if I wanted to physically be on TV, obviously I'd be shelling out a lot of money to come up with an infomercial, versus I have all access to any of these major networks for free, and I can just start pumping out my own content for free, no cost to me. So it's kind of an interesting time in that regards, and I guess some believe that it won't be like this forever. Eventually things will break apart, and then you'll have more segmented audiences, but that remains to be seen, I guess. So in any case, that's about where I'm at now. So hope you're all doing much better. Hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving. Keep on kicking ass, taking names. I'll see you next time. Peace.